Morning. Happy Wednesday, August the 21st. Wake up for another episode of Thai Sports Pitch 24. Gotta go to work, so I'm gonna be going early this morning. Hopefully, you guys are live with me. Are you watching it back? Remember, the Cash App is at the bottom. $ TY Rebel 22. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Thai Sports Picks 24. Let's start off with today's MLB picks. We got the Baltimore Orioles, the brain fart. Houston Astros, Pittsburgh Pirates, and the San Francisco Giants. All money line, as you see right there. All money line. So if we go over to ESPN, you'll see the lines. Give me 1 second. And while I'm doing that, you guys go ahead and lock in those picks. But yeah, as you can see, we got the Orioles game. That's going to be a 1 o'clock game, 1:10. So make sure you get that in early. Then we got the 2 o'clock game, which is between the Red Sox and the Astros. Got 2:35 between the Pirates and the Rangers. And then we got the 3:45 between the Giants and the White Sox. So you guys make sure you lock those in. And then after you're done with those, of course, again, it's Baltimore, Houston, Pittsburgh, and San Francisco money line. Then I got something extra for you. WNBA. SPD, that means take the spread. So these are not just money lines. It's going to be the Aces, Las Vegas Aces, and we got the Phoenix Mercury. So let's go check out WNBA. So if we check out the WNBA, and they also got a neat story on the power rankings. Check that out. It's talking about how Atlanta jumped in the power rankings. But right now, we're going to take a look at the spreads for the WNBA. Okay, so if we go to Wednesday, and shout out to the Suns for winning yesterday. But if we go to Wednesday, you'll see the line is -2.5 for the Mercury. So that's a decent line. And then for the Aces, it's -5.5. So we'll definitely make money with both of those. I wouldn't touch the totals. Look out for Brittany Griner. She's averaging 18.3 for Phoenix. So I don't know if you want. But let's get back to the regular screen so you guys can see my face. It's a lot going on in the NFL world. So we're going to take it over to Athlon in a second. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, things are moving slow. But, the Pittsburgh Steelers are still having this debate about the quarterback situation. I don't know what you guys think about it. I'm kind of tired of hearing about it. I feel like, just go with Russell Wilson, because you got the third preseason game, which a lot of times, if they've already played the starters and done a dress rehearsal, they don't really want to risk it and risk any more injury. So I think because both Justin Fields and Russell Wilson didn't have a great showing, I can understand they just defer to the veteran because I feel like Justin Fields, he needs to develop. But one thing I want to say is neither one of the quarterbacks, they had bad throws here and there, but they both had a high completion percentage. Of course, Russell's was higher. But I'll say this. Going back to my yesterday show about coaching, I think a big thing with this is they probably need to just use their brain. Not saying that Tomlin doesn't, but he needs to use it again. In this instance, what he needs to do is, if the problem is fumbling snaps in the interior line, not being able to block, both of the quarterbacks are mobile. We know that Justin Fields is a tad bit more mobile. So what I would suggest doing is basically play to your strengths and go to a shotgun. See how that works. So that the quarterback doesn't have to go under center and they don't have the center so close to them. Maybe that prevents the fumbling of the snaps for Justin Fields if you want to play him. Or even for Russell, it'll give him a little bit more space to move around. He doesn't have to be a 4.5 like how he was coming out of college, but maybe runs a 4.8. I can't imagine him being as slow as some of those stationary quarterbacks. They're saying Russell is slow. I don't know his particular rushing stats from last year. I can pull them up. But I don't think Russell Wilson is just dirt slow. I think it's more of a thing of, he's already kind of a smaller guy, and then he's compact, and then it's like when you're fumbling around with the snap or when your center is just basically running right into you, that can be a lot to deal with. So we're going to pull up his rushing stats from last year. I already know Justin Fields probably had like 1,000 yards rushing like always. But I only want to pull up the rushing stats for Russell Wilson simply to show a point of that he still can move around, because I'm hearing that a lot. So if you look at 2023, it says rushing attempts. Okay, 80 attempts. It said he averaged 3.7 per carry. He had wow, this is strange. It's hard to see. Okay, so I'm not seeing the rushing touchdowns, but it says he had 293 rushing yards. So that's not bad. So he still can kind of move around a little bit. I was looking for the rushing touchdowns, but I'm not seeing them. But 293 rushing yards. I know what? Let me go to a better website, because this is kind of like not the best. But I was just trying to show my point, and I'll show you Justin Fields in a second. But we all know he's a much more prolific runner at this point in his career. But I'm just saying from the aspect of people saying that Russ can't move anymore and he's not mobile. I don't know if I agree with that. What I more agree with is, I feel like, going back to what I said yesterday as far as the coaching aspect, if something's not working, you got to adapt. Because like Coach Tom, okay, yeah, so I don't know what I was looking at. That was incorrect. So let's go to ESPN next time. Now I know that. So last year, he had 3 rushing touchdowns. He averaged 4.3 per carry, and he had 341 rushing yards. And mind you, I don't know how the line was so much in Denver. I know the coaching staff wasn't really for him, but 4.3 yards per carry, that's decent. That's decent for a running back. Because at his height, he was getting a lot more. The Super Bowl year, he had 5.6 per carry, but he only had 1 rushing touchdown. He had 539 yards. So obviously he isn't getting like 500 or 800. But 341 is actually up from the 277 the year before and the year before that, like 2020. But 341 isn't bad. I don't think Russ is just dirt slow. I wonder if we can see Justin Fields stats from here, because I don't want to take up too much time on this. Can we go to Pittsburgh? Okay. And I want you guys to chime in the comment section. What do you think about this? Because my perspective on it is just a solution, because they have too much talent in Pittsburgh. We talk about Najee Harris, a 1,000-yard rusher. Talk about George Pickens out of Georgia. A lot of people think I don't like Georgia. I love everything SEC. He's a great player out of Georgia. Not good, but great. And they've been flirting with Brandon Ayuk. I don't think it's worth it. I would go get Juju Smith-Schuster. He already knows the system. He's familiar with the locker room. And you really just need a contributor receiver. You don't need a top receiver because you have one. And I'm pretty sure they've got a decent tight end, can block, do a little catching here or there. But I don't feel like, you want to waste money and waste picks. And you definitely don't want to trade Pickens that's comfortable there for Brandon Ayuk that seems kind of like he doesn't know what he wants to do. He probably wants to stay in San Francisco. He's not sure. Okay, so yeah, even Fields' rushing yards were actually down last year. First rookie year, they were 420. Then they went all the way up to 1,143, which I'm sure they didn't like because that's too much of a risk for your quarterback. Then they went down to 657 and 4 touchdowns. So they had the same amount of rushing touchdowns, but I'm not going to say Russ is the same runner as Justin Fields. That would be lying to the public and playing with your intelligence, and we don't do that. But let's get to this article, if we can, about it. on Athlon. It says X Factor Steelers season hinge on Russell Wilson, says analyst. Pittsburgh Steelers still seem more likely than not to start Russell Wilson in week 1. So that's what I was saying. Will anyone have a bigger impact on Pittsburgh's fate than a veteran passer? Well, yeah, maybe Justin Fields and Mike Tomlin, the coach, and whoever's the offensive coordinator. I don't know off the top of my head. The equation seems simple. Make the playoffs. They did that last year. Improve at quarterback. They probably are. And go further in the playoffs next year. Now, that might be a big one. But let's keep on. Unfortunately for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 15 other teams in the AFC attempted to get better this offseason too. And in a conference, getting back healthy quarterbacks in the form of Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, and Anthony Richardson, the road back to the playoffs is incredibly difficult. Sorry about that. Make no mistake, the Steelers did get better at quarterback. That's nearly inevitable after Kenny Pickett's season. So that's what I'm saying. Like, getting better after Kenny Pickett, no disrespect. Is that saying much? Rather than praise for the combination of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, but it's an upgrade nevertheless. So I don't know if they're giving them enough credit because Justin Fields and Wilson are a lot more better, but I don't know if the offensive line has gotten worse. Or maybe they're still gelling. It's preseason, but how can you blame quarterbacks for getting sacked multiple times? I can see maybe once or twice they're holding the ball too long, and both of them are in the top 3 for holding the ball too long. But at the same time, I mean, offensive line sacks are offensive line stat to me. That's like touchdowns are quarterback stat. Interceptions are quarterback stat. Fumbles and rushing touchdowns are running back stat. I'm not saying it's always that way, but linebackers, that's a tackling stat. Interceptions, DBs, you know what I mean? So, okay, with Wilson projected to start and fans left somewhere between the panic of the preseason and the optimism that comes with a passer who can say he's been there and done that about the Super Bowl, needless to say, Pittsburgh hopes of improving rests upon the shoulders of the starting quarterback. Well, that's common sense. Everybody hopes rest on the quarterback. As such, Bleacher Report named Wilson the team's X factor for the upcoming season. Quote, almost everything is going to hinge on the play of Pittsburgh's new quarterback, Christopher Knox wrote. The Steelers had one of the league's better defenses last year. See, that's what I'm saying. They got a lot of those playmakers. You got T.J. Watt, Mika Fitzpatrick. Like, you don't want these guys to go to waste. Joey Porter Jr. But let's continue. Okay, last year to go with a bevy of offensive playmakers. I guess they're talking about Pickens. Okay, however, they couldn't get consistent quarterback play out of Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph. So they turned to Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. While he may not hold the starting job all year, Wilson is widely expected to earn it for week 1. He's the experienced veteran in the locker room, and he's best suited to be the sort of game manager that complements the rest of the Pittsburgh's roster. So they're looking at him as a game manager, and that's kind of what he did when he won the Super Bowls when he was younger with Seattle. Remember, they had that defense, and they had a running game with Marshawn Lynch, similar to the running game they got in Pittsburgh. Excuse me. With Najee Harris. Yeah, I needed that water to think because Najee's name was slipping me. And so basically, they just probably want the Seattle Russell Wilson. They don't want the Denver or the late Seattle to let Russ cook. We don't need you to cook. We just need you to manage. But anyway, it says Fields struggled at times on Saturday too, allowing Wilson some breathing room in the quarterback competition. But with a quarterback more physically talented than Wilson, waiting in the wings and capable of opening more of the playbook, his leash will be shorter than it was in Denver. I don't know what they mean about opening up the playbook because, there's still some discrepancies and just some improvements that need to be made in Fields' game, in my opinion. He's missed some wide open throws, and you'll see. I want to see the stat line. I don't want to read the whole article. It's actually not showing it, I guess. I thought this article, maybe I read a different article, but if I could pull up the stats from the last preseason preseason game. I'm gonna try to do that, and I want to show you the difference in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Just give me 1 second, because Justin Fields can make some big plays, but he can miss some big plays. He's not turning the ball over anymore, and I can be thankful for that. Just as a general football fan, not as a Steelers fan, but it's like the turnovers, that's hard to watch, but it's more of a fumbling thing than it is an interception thing. So at least he knows to throw the ball away. So that's improvement. You got to take baby steps. You can't want it all. Rome wasn't built overnight, as they say. But let me try to find the stats from the other night so I can give you a really pure viewpoint, and it's not biased or anything like that. So when you go to Pittsburgh, okay, the Buffalo Bills game. Let's switch the screen again. Remember, I'm getting used to StreamYard, everybody. If things don't look the way they're supposed to look all the time, just work with me. Okay, so yeah, you guys are with me. So let's recap and go over player stats. Now, if you look at the player stats, we don't care about Buffalo. All right, so now we got Russell Wilson. He's 8 of 10, but for 47 yards. No interceptions, no touchdowns. Okay. Justin Fields is 11 of 17 for 92 yards, but given he threw more passes. So he had 3 more completions, but he threw 7 more passes. So I don't know how much that would equate. Russell only missed 2 passes. If he throws 17, what is he? Let's say I add 2 more misses. So he would have been 14 of 17 compared to 11 to 17 or 15 to 17. But I don't know if the yards equate. Let's say he got 47 on 8 completions. So he probably would have had more yards. He probably would have had about 100 yards. Rushing, we already know that's not a battle. Justin Fields had 8 carries for 42 yards, averaging 5.2. Wilson, I don't even see any rushing yards there, but he can move in the pocket. So basically, you guys just pick your poison or just pick your choice. In my opinion, it's just a thing of what do you want from the quarterback position? You know what I mean? You really just got to choose what's more important to you. Is it big plays with Justin Fields, or is it, just not turning the ball over, letting defense win? Because they have the running game, they have the defense, and they have a dynamic receiver in George Pickens. And, some good slot guys, that I feel like, maybe you don't have to overdo it. You know what I mean? So that's just something to really look at. It's not a big deal. But I will say, going into week 1, you kind of want to know your starter. Also saw some interesting things about the Minnesota Vikings. So let's get over there. It's loading up. So Minnesota Vikings. Let's see if they still have the story up. I hope they do, because it was very interesting as far as the quarterback thing. I'm not saying. Okay, here we go. Sam Darnold, the next Brett Favre. Now, I know the Brett Favre fans are mad. Don't compare him to Brett Favre. Well, I don't know, because you got to know Brett Favre has had, he's a wild boy. He been doing some wild things as of late. When you talk about Brett Favre. Hold on 1 second. Right. I'm not sure what's going on. We're going to bring the screen back up. But yeah, basically it's a story talking about how, because I already read it, it's talking about how the Vikings is basically a quarterback-friendly franchise, just historically. When you think about Randall Cunningham, when you think about Jeff George, when you think about Warren Moon, I mean, think about it, Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss and Chris Carter, and I think Jake Reed and all those guys, even Robert Smith at running back, Michael Bennett, they were very good to the quarterbacks. Then they had John Randall on defense. I mean, this is before I even read the article. I just know my football. But let's get to the article so that they can, give you the facts. But I got some facts up here. I just wanted you guys to know that. Okay, is Sam Darnold the next Brett Favre for the Vikings? Okay, I forgot to mention Brett. Okay. So Andrew Perloff can't ignore Minnesota's history for getting the most out of backups, busts, and declining veteran quarterbacks. So that can kind of be offensive. I don't know if you want to be considered a backup, a bust, or a declining veteran. Quarterbacks are sensitive. Shout out to Tua, Brian Flores, because Flores is on this Vikings staff, but we're gonna leave that one alone. Okay, Minnesota Vikings football is known for many things: amazing fans, tragic playoff losses. Tell me about it. Okay, well, real quick, everybody remember that 98 Falcons and Vikings NFC Championship game? Or even the one with Philly after they had the big upset of the Saints in the second round, and then they lost to Philly in 2017. So those tragic playoff losses, they are not joking. But let's move on. Okay, lots of purple. But its history of surprising quarterback seasons is overlooked. The Vikings organization is football rehab for the position. Same of the most of out of nowhere seasons. I'm sorry. Some of the most out of nowhere seasons have happened in Minnesota, and Sam Darnold has a great chance to be next, especially with JJ McCarthy hurt. Poor JJ. Okay, Darnold could join the likes of Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham, Jeff George, Brett Favre, and Case Keenum. So I forgot about Case. Okay. All of them came in as backups, busts, or declining players and had an unexpected breakout in Minnesota. Obviously, none of these players have any connection to Darnold, but there's common ingredients: strong offensive coaching staff, talented skilled position players, and the advantage of playing in a dome. Yeah, well, with a dome, you don't have to deal with inclement weather. You don't have to deal with the wind, the sleet, the storm, the snow, especially being in Minnesota. You don't even have to deal with the cold, because they control the temperature, so that's really good to play inside a dome, so even for kickers. But anyway, it's been the perfect place for quarterbacks to put their struggles behind them and maximize their potential. So I'm not going to get too much into the story. We are going to read this part, though. Darnold might seem like an unlikely candidate to have a breakout season. In 6 seasons with the New York Jets, Carolina Panthers, and San Francisco 49ers, he's thrown 63 touchdowns and 56 interceptions and has a 78.3 passer rating. He's a pariah he was a pariah in New York, or he's a pariah in New York. They don't like him, in part because the fan base had such high expectations after they drafted him number 3 overall in 2018. Okay, so one thing. Who does New York like as far as quarterback? Shout out to New York. I got some family from New York, Baltimore. Y'all know what it is, Maryland. But let's be honest. New York a tough town, and Philadelphia. Y'all run through quarterbacks like Hugh Hefner run through wives. But let's get back to the story. But he's in the right situation for the Vikings bump. Okay. Head coach Kevin O'Connell runs a quarterback-friendly offense, and the weapons are a huge upgrade from anyone Darnold has played with in the past. He'll be throwing to Justin Jefferson, arguably the second best receiver since Tyreek Hill is number 1. Okay. Jordan Addison, and tight end T.J. Hawkinson. See, I knew they had a tight end. With Aaron Jones running the ball. Aaron Jones catches and runs and blocks big time. So they got him from Green Bay. So they don't have to deal with him as far as defensively. Okay, the reports on Darnold out of Vikings camp have been positive. He was 4 for 8 for 59 yards in just 1 drive. Okay, that's pretty good. In his first preseason game, Jefferson told The Athletic that Darnold's deep passes land like soft pillows. You put it on thick, Jefferson. Soft pillows, huh? Darnold is likely a 1 or 2 year stopgap that fits the mold of the other Minnesota quarterbacks. They showed up out of nowhere and are gone just as quick. Now, that I don't understand. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, that's what I didn't like about the Culpepper thing, Dante Culpepper, the Randall Cunningham thing, Warren Moon thing, especially for Randy Moss. I feel like Randy Moss could have been like Jerry Rice if he had the same quarterback. Like, only consistent quarterback he had was Tom Brady. But let's move on. The Vikings took former Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy at number 10 overall in this year's NFL draft. McCarthy tore his meniscus and is out for the season, but this is his team when he's ready. That doesn't mean Darnold can't have success in the short term. Now, that's bad for JJ because he looked like he could play this year. If you saw the game against the Raiders, that's why I was surprised they decided to go with the long-term surgery instead of the short-term fix. But they were like, they didn't want him to have, loss of mobility over time, which that made me think, so what about all these skill position players that get meniscus fixed? Do they get loss of mobility and it's like, oh, well, you're not a quarterback? So that's very interesting. We might have to look into meniscus surgeries later on. But anyway, let's look at this is what I want to look at. The Vikings single season bump. So they're calling it a single season bump. Okay, now Case Keenum in 2016, he had 9 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, passer rating of 76.4. But when he got with the Vikings in 2017, he had 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 98.3 rate on passer rating. And what's the crazy thing about it? These have been different Viking coaches, but certain teams, whether it's Philly with defense in the running game, whether it's the Raiders were just playing nasty, the Dolphins with the passing game. Well, we didn't have a passing game for a while, but certain cities and certain teams have personalities because these are different coaches, but they always got a Viking single season bump. It's like the Cowboys with the offensive line and running game. I'm a Cowboys fan. I got to throw us in there. Okay, now Sam Bradford. In 2015, he threw for 19 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. He had an 86.4 passer rating. But in 2016 with the Vikings, he threw for 20 touchdowns. He had 5 interceptions, and he had a 99.3 passer rating. Just checking the time really quick. Okay. Then Brett Favre in 2008 with the Jets. I remember this. He had 22 touchdowns, 22 picks, and 81 overall passer rating. In 2009, he had 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 107.2 passer rating. So you're really seeing the bump. You see Jeff George right there. He went from 4 touchdowns in 98 and 5 interceptions, 72.7 rating to in 99. He had 23 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a 94.2 rating. So you see what it is, man. It's like quarterback after quarterback. You see Randall Cunningham in 98, he had 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 106 was his passer rating. The year before, just 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Warren Moon, yeah. A lot of the older people in my family love Warren Moon. I don't know what happened in 94 because Warren Moon was good with or without the Vikings. That was just a down year. Shout out to Houston Oilers, y'all know. Shout out to Canada. I know my history. But anyway, in 95, Warren Moon had 33 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a 91.3 passer rating. Moon got to Minnesota in 94 and hit his stride in 95 at the age of 39. Yeah, Tom Brady was not the first old quarterback and won't be the last. Yeah, Warren Moon did it for a lot of people. Shout out to him and Joe Montana. Joe Montana went to Kansas City after the 49ers and was doing things in his late 30s. So I just had to give the legend some respect. It said he had great chemistry with Carter. That's Chris Carter, who had 122 catches for a career high of 1,371 yards and 17 touchdowns in 95. Moon broke his collarbone the following season and then left for Seattle. Okay, so that explains the Warren Moon thing. Because as a kid, I always was like, man, like, what did they do? And I was a toddler, mind you, because I'm a 90s baby. So I shouldn't even know about Warren Moon with the Vikings. But while your kids was playing with toys, I was watching ESPN. So basically, one important note on these quarterbacks, none of them reached the Super Bowl, and some of them missed the playoffs. That could easily be the case with Darnold. Okay, that's just hate. Okay. He might have a fantastic season and still not be able to catch the talented Lions and Packers in the NFC North. The Vikings face a murderous row of offenses early in the season. The 49ers, the Texans, the Packers, the Lions, the Rams, all before week 8. That lineup might result in a few shootouts and big stats for Darnold. Hey, a shootout is good for a quarterback. Defense got to deal with that. So basically it concludes by saying on a personal level, Darnold has a chance to put the bust label behind him. His flame out of New York has high profile and ugly. No, was high profile and ugly. Sorry about that. Kind of hard to see. In Minnesota, he can follow a long line of quarterbacks who set their career back on a positive course. So shout out to Warren Moon. I hate to be biased, but that's no childhood hero. I had a Warren Moon toy when I was little. But yeah, basically, that's what's going on in the NFL right now. Let's see if there's anything else I want to speak on before I get you guys out of here. And if you didn't see the picks, let me pull them back up while I'm looking. Okay, it's moving kind of slow. So remember, you got the Aces spread. So you got the Las Vegas Aces, and you also have the Phoenix Mercury. And then here are the MLB picks. I got one NBA story I want to show you guys, and then I'm gonna get you up out of here. So let me just pull up this NBA story. Hopefully it's there. This is a neat story because a lot of people they don't know who to pick when NBA is coming up, whether it's fantasy. I think you got fantasy basketball. I think this would be neat if it comes up because I don't know how the computer's working today. If not, we'll just get up out of here. Come on. Okay, so it's working. So I was reading up on another NBA story, and I was like, hey, this one is neat. I think you guys will like it. Let's see if they got it. Because it'd be so much news. Let me go to Philadelphia. I know they're one of the most hated teams, but hey, man, we got to give Philly their credit. Shout out to Meek Mill, Beanie Siegel, Allen Iverson. Oh, shout out to Philly. Jill Scott. Let's take a long walk through the park after dark. What y'all know about that Jill Scott? Okay, so here's the story I'm talking about. We got Philadelphia 76ers signing Gershon Yabusele. I don't know if I'm messing up your name, but hey, I'm trying, man. I'm not French. Was a steal of the summer. The Philadelphia 76ers pulled off the seal of the summer by signing Gershon Yabusele on a 1-year deal for $2.1 million. How about y'all sign me for 1 year? I could play some defense. Okay. Well, anyway, not everyone can get a poster dunk on LeBron James. Yeah, but Gershon Yabusele did with an Olympic gold medal at stake as France took on Team USA in the final. Yabusele had been tremendous throughout the Olympics and dropped 20 points against Team USA in the gold medal game. Yeah, he dropped a dub on y'all boys. But some all-time great shooting from Steph Curry in the final 3 minutes meant that the French team had to settle for silver. The Frenchmen excelled at the Paris Olympics, averaging 14 points, 3.3 rebounds, and shooting 51.9% from the field. Now, mind you, I forgot about that. Isn't it kind of funny that they favored Germany, they favored Canada, even Serbia, and the French made it to the finals, but it was in Paris? Was it some wee referees? Like, yes, that's a foul. Yes, wee. I don't know. But we ain't gonna hate on Yabusele because shout out to the 76ers. Anyway, Yabusele's performance was good enough to catch the eye of the Philadelphia 76ers, who handed him a 1-year, $2.1 million deal. No, they didn't hand him anything. He performed and got that. Anyway, Yabusele is back in the NBA after 5 years, having been waived by the Boston Celtics in 2019, and he has earned it. See what I'm saying? Great minds think alike. Many are already referring to the move as the biggest steal of the summer. The French forward is exactly the kind of player the 76ers bench requires. His ability to stretch the floor and create problems for the opposition defense could be extremely beneficial to the 76ers. In recent years, one of the 76ers' major problems was lack of bench depth. Yabusele provides a quality option for the second unit, and the Frenchman's versatility gives his head coach, Nick Nurse, the chance to experiment with combinations. Yeah, man, you love that size. You just love a guy that, give bad matchups and a change to the defense coming off that bench, Yabusele is a low-risk option for the 76ers, who needed to add some depth at power forward behind Caleb Martin. Man, Caleb should have stayed with the Heat, but, it's about the 76ers. Yubicel is also expected to bring some toughness to the 76ers. His international experience adds an element of maturity and tenacity that could prove important to high pressure situations. Of course, this won't be Yubicel's first time in the NBA. He spent 2 seasons with the Celtics. So I guess that's 18 and 19 maybe. While Yubicel might have failed to impress in Boston back then, 5 years is a long time. He has played all over the world since then and clearly improved as a player. If the version of Yubicel that we saw in the Olympics turns up in a 76ers jersey next season, then he would be the steal. Okay, it moved on me. Okay, he would be the steal of the summer, and yeah, he would be the steal of the summer by some distance. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much gonna be the show. Shout out to Yubicel. What's his first name again? Gershon. So shout out to Gershon. Yeah, shout out to Gershon. You know, you can play me one-on-one, you know. We can play some horse, you know, see where your hoop game at, you know. But everybody, you know, put in those picks. Let's have a great day. We got Baltimore again, the Orioles, we got the Astros, the Pittsburgh Pirates, we got the San Francisco Giants, all money line in the MLB. And then in the WNBA, we got the Las Vegas Aces with the point spread and the Phoenix Mercury with the point spread. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Sorry waking up so early. Check out the Cash App, $TY Rebel 22, the Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at TY Sports Picks 24. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you guys make money on this winning Wednesday. Big wins Wednesday. Let's go.